Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Ritt. I'm an artist and a tarot reader. And for those of you who tune into me when I post a new video, I wanted to thank you for that, and also I wanted to apologize because I know that I tend to do this very sporadically, and it's easy to get a little bit too in my head about this and not just go ahead and post something when I'm inspired or just get in the habit of reading for you all a little more regularly. But I knew that this was going to be a big one, of course, because it's the end of such a crazy year. And so my inspiration for this particular reading, in part, is about leaving this year behind, but also recognizing the value in it amidst all the chaos. I've seen people post, things to the effect of fuck 2020, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it can be really cathartic to, just flip the year off and want to move on. But at the same time, I've been noticing for myself that when I take the time to organize any one area of my life and look through it, so often there are satisfying little bits amongst the chaos of whatever I'm sifting through that make me feel a lot more abundant and satisfied with that whole process than I realized starting it, going in, whatever it is. Today I was cleaning out my drawer for sticker making things, and I came across just a whole treasure trove of other stickers that I take so much pleasure in working with and sending out to people who purchase my artwork. So it got me thinking about the lost treasure within this year. I had a really lovely conversation with a friend of mine last night, and she called 2020 a lost year, which I feel like is really fitting. It's so fitting. And I feel like in keeping with that, there's a lot of lost treasure within the year that I wanted to focus back in on, because it's been such a catalytic and transformative year for so many of us, with all of the highs and lows. And so I actually did 2 readings. One, just wanting to focus in for us as a collective on what is that about? What are those beautiful things of value that we've been able to take from this that we may not even realize if we're busy giving this year the finger? And again, that has its place, but there's so much more as well to look at and explore. And so I pulled some cards for that particular reading, and then my other question is, what does that treasure facilitate for us going forward? What are the things that we've been facilitating, maybe without even realizing it, that are of benefit going forward, going into 2021? And it's interesting for me how much of a contrast there is between these 2 readings. So I'll just go ahead and start with the first part of that in terms of the treasure. So the first layer of this, and I am working with my V-shape format here, the first layer that I'm seeing is really just chronicling the highs and lows that we've experienced. I have the Wheel of Fortune here, Now, I so often think of this card overall as positive momentum forward. And at the same time, there is somebody getting tossed off this wheel, literally tossed off. And I feel like this, in combination with Knight of Swords reversed, that Wheel of Fortune is facing here, I feel like this energy, which swords is air, and air speaks so much to the mind, and often the things that we plan or the ways in which we articulate our thoughts, it feels as if it's that message that a lot of our plans have, and I know I'm not the first person to say this, a lot of our plans have shifted or felt like they've fallen through or just not worked out. Not worked out at all the way we were anticipating at the very beginning of this year. And at the same time, it's very both and, because there's been so much positive momentum and so many new intentions that we've set in motion collectively and individually. I know this to be true. I very much know this to be true for myself, and I know it to be true for a lot of other people within this collective. So that's the first layer, and that sets a really interesting tone going forward. And then the next layer, we have Eight of Wands. Now this is fire. Eight of Wands I often think of in terms of news in transit. So receiving information, and that can be receiving from our divine sources, getting news flashes and brain waves and inspirations and all of that. And that can also be in the form of messages from people around us, emails, phone calls, Zoom meetings these days especially. And so this card, which speaks so much to communication, again, in news in transit, is right across from Ace of Swords, which so often just feels like fundamental truth and clarity. And so in the midst of all of these plans falling through and all of this chaos and just all of the crises and scares and and fear. There's a lot of fear. There is still clarity and new inspiration and new ways forward that we are collectively and individually receiving, that relates very directly to how we want to live our lives going forward, as well as just where we are at present, where we are, what we want, and what we'd like to realize for ourselves going forward again. Now at the center of this reading is Page of Cups, which is so interesting because the very thing that makes us want to flip off this year, this year feels like no other year that's come before it, really, in my experience. It's the heaviness, it's the sadness, it's the fear. This energy is polar opposite to all of that. So here we have cups. Cups are water. This is the Page of Cups. So this is a younger energy. Page is like Knight's younger brother. And this energy speaks to inspiration, speaks to, again, receiving divine information that allows new realms to open up for us. So yeah, I feel like maybe this more than anything, it is at the heart of what I wanted to focus in on for this reading. That there's a lot of gold being mined by us collectively, and there's a lot of new ideas and ways of living and being and seeing the world that have been launched as a direct result of all of the heaviness of this year. And so, yeah, so I feel like this is kind of the essence of that lost treasure. And it's not lost really at all, but it can feel, and actually, as my friend was telling me last night, all of these beautiful things that are of value to us that we realize in one moment can get misplaced in the next. So, yeah, it just feels like a really, really beautiful, really uplifting message as we head into 2021. Now, the flip side of this came out in the second part of this, or the second reading, if you will, in which I wanted to focus in on what are the benefits going forward of the things that we've happened upon and received and thought about, if only briefly, in moments of 2020 in between all of the heaviness. So where does that put us going forward? What are the benefits? And what I realized is that collectively we still have a lot of resistance and a lot of fear, a lot of trepidation, I feel like is a good word. There's hope and there's trepidation going forward with 2021. And so the first card I pulled is Five of Pentacles. And this is an energy that speaks to lack. It speaks to all of the heaviness of 2020. And so, whereas my intellectual brain would have liked it to feel simpler in terms of this one beautiful aspect of 2020 yields this going forward, it just doesn't work that way. And so what I'm seeing is all of the things of value are still there. And then we also have our blocks. So we have our fears, we have our feelings of being so limited, and we are literally in a pandemic. And so of course there's all these feelings of limitation and fears and the reality of this virus. I feel like this speaks to illness and lack and just feeling downtrodden, and so across from this energy we have 10 of Wands reversed, and it's next to Judgment. And Judgment is about energy actually freeing up. Judgment is about release. And I feel as if this message is kind of doubled up with 10 of Wands on its head, because what this message feels like to me is we're in the process of freeing ourselves up from the burdens of this past year. We're very much aware and I feel like for many of us there is kind of a need to point to the heaviness and point to the sadness, and I mean it's really fresh. We're just at the tail end of this year, and at the same time there is potential for releasing a lot of these burdens and feeling the renewal of this energy going forward. So that is a really lovely layer to this reading, actually, when I stop and think about it. Now, going in a little further, it does feel like there is going to be some resistance to accepting the positivity of the first, all of the things that made the first part of this reading beautiful. And here we have Seven of Wands, and it's across from Queen of Pentacles reversed. And Queen of Pentacles, well, Pentacles are earth, and earth speaks to our resources, and earth speaks to our ability to care for ourselves in really loving and really solid ways. And she's on her head here, you know, and she's across from this fiery card, which so often just speaks to needing to make a stand and needing to make a point, and needing to argue and needing to kind of push against. And so what I feel like this is speaking to is the fact that it's not going to be, we're going to be coming out of this pandemic, each and every one of us at our own pace. And there is going to be a lot of contracted energy. That's what I'm feeling. There's, you know, many of us are going to want to hold on to the memories that made this year so difficult to stay sane in. And I feel like it's just speaking so directly to all of the ways in which coronavirus has affected each and every one of us. Those of us who have literally been in the hospital or tested positive or lost loved ones because of this virus. And for those of you in that position, you have every right to say, I'm not going to just move on from that, you know, and I feel like that is where this fiery energy comes in. And at the same time, more broadly speaking, I feel like this layer is pointing to that temptation to just hold on to the heaviness and not move forward, or just hold on and, you know, and just feel really angry and really sad and continue to grieve the loss of things as they were. I feel like that is also a part of this particular reading. So it's not, what I'm coming to understand as I read is that it's not as simple as, you know, what do these beautiful treasures yield going forward? Because it's natural that there be resistance to that as well. So that is also part of this reading. And then right in the middle, you have Four of Cups. This is a card of contemplation. It's, so again, cups are water, so they speak to the emotional component of our reality. And this person is not in the right place to receive new information. And so what I'm seeing is that whereas there's so much benefit to all of these beautiful things that we've discovered this past year, and again, amidst a lot of chaos and a lot of instability, there is going to be that temptation for some of us not to want to go there and not to want to look at what's of benefit. And I do feel like it's okay to own the pain and the sadness and the anger. And it's even okay to stay in that for a time, you know, if that's what you need, if it feels like there's a catharsis in that, or a natural grieving process in that. But my experience of 2020 and what I'm coming to understand, and how interesting is it too that in the center of the first reading, you have this, you know, beautiful little page wielding this, you know, this cup. And I feel like the cup is Well, the cup is information and inspiration and possibility. I feel like there's a lot of possibility being offered here, that this person is not really ready to see more fully, or let alone take advantage of, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like maybe it has to be okay that that treasure stays buried a little bit longer for some of us, you know? But at the same time, it does feel really good to point out that it's there. And even if it's just a glint of something that we pick up on, you know, or get a quick download about, you know, a little psychic download, and then set aside, I feel like there's still a lot there that's going to be of benefit farther down the road. What I'm seeing here is that it's going to take a little bit of time to heal and to allow our burdens to shift, you know? To allow things to be freed up gradually, to allow certain things to mend, in order to come back to, you know, these other fundamental truths that are also just beneath the surface, that we've gotten to experience, even if only in brief but powerful moments during this past year. So for all of you, wherever you're at in this year, going into the next year, I wish you a peaceful and fulfilling new year, and a healing new year. I say that for myself just as much as for all of you. There's just been so much that's gotten churned up and experienced and lived through collectively. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if this resonates for you. And I will see you in the new year. Bye for now.